Welcome back to Copenhagen Blue. Today we are doing PCV valve replacement on the 2011 Dodge Journey with a 3.6 liter Pentastar. If you run over to AutoZone, you can get just this PCV valve, but it does not work on the 2011 because on the 2011 this top breather tube port is actually on the back side, so it wraps all the way around and it will not fit properly. But if you are noticing that you're getting a little bit of oil consumption, this can help out because this little diaphragm here will eventually start to let oil blow by and it'll suck it into your intake tube, which when I did spark plugs and I did intake manifold gaskets, I noticed some oil in the actual upper intake manifold. This will hopefully alleviate some of that. But we're going to take off the PCV valve on the back. We're going to install this updated hose in the new PCV valve. See if it makes the car run a little bit better. Let's get started. First thing you're going to want to do is get this engine cover out of the way, which you just take care of by pulling up on the top of it. There's some posts on your intake manifold, and we can set this to the side. Take off the 8mm clamp on the intake boot. Down there on the bottom, you're going to have the intake clamp that goes to the actual silencer for the intake itself. To take off our intake tube, you just kind of push that end in there. You're going to give that a wiggle, and that'll pull off the other end there. Watch the lines, and you want to pull this tube out of the way. On the driver's side of the motor, up here on the top of the intake manifold, there's a spring clip. You just squeeze both ends of that. You can use a set of channel locks. That'll open that up, which will allow you to slide that clamp backwards. And then we're going to need to get this hose off, which if you press back, will slide off the end. You can actually see we have some oil residue actually in here, so definitely a good idea that we're getting this taken care of. Going down on the driver's side of the motor, you're able to get to the back here, where you can actually see we have our PCV valve right down there. This tube just runs around and connects to the back side of the PCV valve down here. There's a clamp that's hooked on from another set of wires, so you need to make sure you kind of get that clamp off of there. It just looks like a little tension clamp. And then we need to pay attention to the routing of our hose. Notice the way it goes, so that it goes down underneath that intake tube, and we route it properly. So the tube runs down here. I'm trying to get it out, and I was trying to use a pair of needle nose pliers to get the clamp off, but it doesn't seem to want to cooperate very well. But I think if we pull on the tube, we might be able to, there you go, you're able to get the top out. Ooh, you can see all the oil that we have on there. That's a lot of oil. I guess it's a good thing we're replacing it. All right, down here you're going to find some Torx. We have 3 of them on the original. Now there are only 2. And this is a T25 that's going to go into the top of your PCV valve. You have another one over here, and then there's one down on the bottom. I'm going to take those 3 out, and the whole assembly should come out really easily. Now I'm able to, once you break the screw loose, undo it by hand. We're just going to set that safely to the side, and then we're going to work on our other screws, which I don't know that we can get to until we get this elbow off. With a little bit of pressure, I was able to use the needle nose pliers to squeeze on it this way while pushing out. And my gosh, we actually have oil dripping out of that tube. This PCV valve really needed to be replaced. The last screw is somewhere. Where is it? Right down here on the back side. You can see it down there. Not exactly easy to get to, but we'll get to it. We were able to get that last screw out right there. And now the PCV valve itself, a little bit of wiggle, should just come free. You can pull that out. Now you can see the difference between this one and the original. There's that diaphragm, which actually expands open around the camshaft on the end. We're going to clean up the hole down there where that goes into, so we have a nice clean surface. The old PCV valve out, we're just going to wipe down the surface with some shop towel. Make sure that it's clean so that way we're not setting ourselves up for any leaks down the road. And And we're going to install our new one. As you can see, we have our two PCV valves here. Let me wipe off the old one, get it cleaned up a little bit. But you can tell that they've, to some degree, upgraded this component. The other one here had a solid collar to it, and just the diaphragm part itself, where these ribs are, pushed in. Now, you can also see that it had, the tube went backwards, opposed to this one, which goes straight up and down. So that was the change in this. You also notice that we have another tab where a screw goes, and we only have two on this one. That's normal. Now we're going to install the new one. I just wanted to show you the differences between the two. Installation is easy. Take your PCV valve, and we're going to go in, go down on the back end, and angle it in, and then the only thing I don't know is if I want to put the tube on first, but I don't think I can screw it in if I put that on that way. So I'm just going to push it, and the collar will expand over the camshaft itself. There we go. See that it locks in, that it's snug. We're going to put our T25s back in, leaving the one at the back empty. The other one is the one that goes down here on the bottom. We just need to get it in the hole on the bottom on the back side, and we'll start that by hand, and we'll finish it up with the torque wrench. Now there are little metal collars on this part itself, so I don't believe you can over torque it. I'm not going to look up the torque specs. We're just going to snug it down and make sure that it's not going to come undone. Taking a look at our two PCV valve lines here, the one gooing oil out, you can tell it's the old one. You can see how it went around to the back side of that PCV valve, and then how our new one goes right to the top. We're going to use our old hose clamps, put them on the new fittings, and that should allow us to finish this up. Good gosh, hopefully stop burning some oil. We're going to try a tick-tock trick. On these types of clamps, I hate them because you have to sit there and try to hold them and squeeze them and hold them. I've seen a thing where you put a zip tie on it, and you tighten down the zip tie, and that keeps it. I don't know if I broke the zip tie. We'll try again. Try with a smaller one. We have it looped around. Squeeze the clamp all the way. Let's see if it works for going on. I did use a little bit of silicone inside that tube, so we can get that to go over. I'm almost wondering if it's not supposed to use the clamp. I don't think it's supposed to use the clamp. Let's try it without the clamp and see what happens. I believe with the updated part they actually made it so this is one way and hooks on, and you don't have to use a clamp on that hose, because that went on way easier, and it expands a lot down there. I don't know, you can see how much that rubber expanded out. Let's see, put this one here. All right. So that's on all the way down there. Over, just for security. Since we have it all back together, I did use this clamp. I didn't use a clamp down there because I'm like 98% sure that that's set up now as a compression fitting for the most part. I can barely get that thing back off, let alone the clamp was going to be way too small for it. We're going to take our intake tube now. We're going to put it down on here and slip it around the intake silencer that's back there, which is this unit here, runs back over to here. We've tightened down our one worm drive clamp on that side. We have another 8mm down here. Now that we have everything put back together, We're going to start the car up, make sure that we don't have any vacuum leaks. Well, it amazes me that such a small little device can cause such havoc on your engine. All it's supposed to do is take excessive crankcase pressure and put it right back into your intake manifold, and here it is sucking oil and putting it back into the intake manifold. A lot of problems for a little item, but I hope you were able to replace yours. I hope if you found this video useful, you hit like, you'll hit subscribe, and I'll see you next time.